Just- I'm muted. All right, things happen. Peace, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. So we're in store for another really great episode today. Before we go ahead and get started, just a few reminders as always. Please find us at Food Talks in Color on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Your subscribership counts, and it helps me, it helps the show. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, Food Talks in Color on YouTube. Also, if you like what you hear, not only on today's episode, but from past episodes, go ahead and hit that like button. Comment, share your feedback, and also share this episode with a friend. Share the Edible Activist Podcast with a friend. So sharing is caring. So we want to get the word out there. We want more edible activists tuning into this show because we got a lot of really great content. So again, welcome to another episode of the Edible Activist Podcast, and just wanted to share those few things with you before we get started. So I'm not going to be long-winded. I always say that, but we have a really great episode today, and I'm super excited because I love when I'm able to bring back a returning guest, returning guests who I affectionately call as Edible Activist alum. So if you've been on this show before, and if you're viewing this or you're in the chat, thank you for tuning in, all of our Edible Activist alum, but super excited for this special guest to talk about some farmer training opportunities here in DC. So I don't know if you guys have ever had a desire to farm, if you ever had a desire to connect back with the land and be able to grow vegetables and feed community. So you might have that opportunity today because we're going to learn about a unique cohort that's taking place in DC, actually at one of my favorite farms. Okay. So we are going to talk through some of that with our amazing guests today. But again, this is just going to be really amazing because this is an opportunity that I saw over a week ago. And I said, let's go ahead and talk about this because we may have some aspiring farmers and gardeners out there. And so we want you to tap in. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our very special guest. But right before I do, just a bit of an intro. So it's Gail Taylor, who is the owner and operator of Three Part Harmony Farm based in here in Washington, D.C. She is affectionately known as the People's Farmer. She's my favorite farmer. Okay. And her and her staff, they run an amazing CSA production on their farm in DC, and they are responsible for feeding close to 100 families. Okay. Myself included. So I am a CSA member, community supported agriculture, for those who don't know what a CSA is. And so I receive a wonderful box every other Tuesday of fresh vegetables. And so Three Part Harmony has this amazing farmer training cohort program that they have launched, their inaugural, actually. This is the first time that they're doing this. And so we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to bring Gail on. Hi, Gail.
Hi.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So good to have you. Yes, number 3. And the other thing that I meant to mention as well, okay, so this is going to be an episode to talk more about the training, the farmer training program, right? That Three Part Harmony Farm has. But if you all want to learn more about Gail, episode 52. Okay. This is not going to be the episode where we're going all in about Gail, but what I can tell you is that she's dynamic, she's amazing, and has been extremely instrumental to DC and farming in DC. So you have got to hear her story and how she has actually lifted up some initiatives in DC, just making it possible not only for herself, but some other farmer and grower enthusiasts to be able to farm in the city, which is not easy. Getting land in DC is not easy, whether you're leasing it or trying to buy it, but also just the legislation around it, the policies around it. It's not easy. And Gail has been a big force behind all of that. So I definitely encourage you all to tap back into episode 52, The People's Farmer, Gail. So anyway, Gail, it's so great to see your face again. And she's been up since 6 a.m. Her and her staff are preparing some amazing boxes that I look forward to tomorrow. She gave me a sneak peek of what I'll receive. So I'm super excited about that. But Gail, we are here to talk about this wonderful farmer trainee program that you all have, that you're actually just launching for the first time. And so when I saw this, even for myself, I was just like, oh, maybe I'll just quit my job and I'll just why not?
Why not?
The way this world is going, you know what? Anything goes. But no, seriously, I saw it and I just thought it would be an amazing opportunity to share more because we don't know. We don't know who's out there who may be, interested in this opportunity. I could tell you just reading through the requirements, I was just really appreciative because we chatted just briefly before this that, applications for cohorts and trainings can be very intimidating. And I know that your intent has been, to create an easy application. And this is an opportunity that doesn't require like certifications or anything. It's like if you have the heart and if you are committed and you really want this, like at your core, this is something that you want, like consider applying. So I'm going to be quiet for just a few moments because I'm gonna let you talk about, the farmer training program in DC, but just really interested. So before we get into like all of the details, give us like a high level overview of what the training program is about, and then we'll break down some of the details and the requirements, for our audience.
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I hope anyone who is watching now or later and tunes in has any questions that I don't answer, please feel free to contact me. So the hands-on farmer training program that we're launching this year in collaboration with the Black Dirt Food Collective and Juniper's Garden is hands-on, like capital H, hands-on. So this is very different from any other farmer training program that you really see out there where they tell you like, this is how many hours you're going to be in the classroom. We're going to watch PowerPoint presentations. There's going to be speakers. We'll do, field trip visits. You'll build a business plan. This is like you get to come and work next to our staff. We're going to weed. We're going to get dirty. We're going to harvest. You're going to do everything hands-on that you would do if you were working at my vegetable farm. The only difference is you don't need to have experience ahead of time.
That's awesome. Can we place the emphasis on capital H, hands-on?
Yes.
Hands-on opportunity in the field, in the dirt, literally, okay, growing vegetables. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
for 10 years going into my 11th year now of running through Power Harmony Farm, I have done small amounts of training with people who have been on staff or people who are part of our work share program where you come and you just do 3 hours a week. And I really try to emphasize and explain to people ahead of time, like, you will learn while you're next to me working. We're not going to sit down. I don't sit down. You might not see me sit down and take a water break. You might not see me sit down and eat lunch. You should take a water break. But we keep it moving. This is like hands-on, feet moving. We're going to be in motion.
I love that. So for those who don't know, 3-part Harmony Farm, like it is an operation. It's 2 or 3 acres. You operate in 2 or 3 acres?
It's 2 acres in DC, but that's not all under cultivation.
Got it. And so within those 2 acres, like it's a lot. It's like you have a staff, you have volunteers. It is a whole production.
Yeah, there's a lot going on any given day. On any given day, some random thing might happen. Like last week, the guy who installed our solar panels came to disconnect a battery that wasn't working and then went up on the roof. He pulled down one of the panels and he said, "Did you know that there's a bullet hole in your solar panel?"
Not a bullet hole? Oh gosh.
There's a bullet hole in
this is the solar panel that we had promoted and fundraised for just a year and some change ago. Oh, yeah. Heavens. Farming in the city.
He found me another panel. But yeah, we were just harvesting. I thought we were going to have a normal work day. He calls, says, "Can I stop by?" And then before I know it, one of my solar panels is broken.
Oh my goodness. So with that said, coming across this opportunity, what made you, want to launch this training opportunity or create this, or, partner with some really amazing partners to be able to provide this opportunity, given, again, you guys are really busy, very busy farm, but creating the space and opportunity for others to do that. We understand there are entries, there are barriers, to entry for those, just trying to find space in DC. Maybe you want something bigger than a plot, right? Again, we talked about the application process. Sometimes they can be long and daunting. You have to have all sorts of certifications and everything. But what, aside from that, what was like really one of your main reasons of opening this opportunity and creating this opportunity for those to tap in and get this experience?
I feel like there were three main reasons. One was because we just really, really need it. The way that I wrote out the proposal is really a culmination of conversations that the Black farmer community has been having in DC and Baltimore, the DMV, on and off over the last 10, 12, even 15 years. And just as a side note, 2020 was a big year.
In the biggest way.
For everyone in so many reasons. One of the interesting things that happened during that year is when people found out that Black Lives Matter was a movement, people thought that it started in 2020.
And it did not, for those who thought that it did.
Yeah. And then also at that same time, people also started seeing empty shelves in the grocery store. And they started wondering who's growing their food. And there was this interesting moment that happened. It was like a perfect storm, that racial justice conversation mixed with us learning what supply chain means. People started wanting to buy from local farmers, but people also wanted to start supporting Black farmers. And it was a really important moment for us to be like, yeah, you can read the statistics and see how hard it is for Black farmers. You can learn about Black land loss. You can go back in history and learn about some of our legacy farmers who still have not been done right by the USDA. And one of the things that happened during that time is a lot of people wanted to start throwing money at the problem. So all of these grant opportunities were opening up. And some of the organizations were receiving money and not necessarily knowing what we were going to do with it. And so we, in the DMV, we have been having Black Caucus meetings within the Sustainable Ag meeting spaces. We have been having our own sessions, with our own room with the hundreds of white farmers, right? We make our own space. So we've been having these conversations and building community over the decade and a half since I've been farming. And in that moment, Denzel Mitchell, who is now the executive director of the Farm Alliance of Baltimore, pulled together a board of folks to help him, to guide him in figuring out how to disperse funds that were coming to his organization. And also at the same time, I was working at an organization that funded a special meeting for the Black Caucus outside of our normal meeting time. And it was a very important, both of those things happening at the same time, where we started making Google Docs about what our demands were. And high up on that list was, where do we get training? Where do we get proper training? And I think one of the things that's hard to explain also is just that gap and how hard it is for folks of color, especially Black folks, to access the kind of training programs that are out there and that are available that other white farmers find more easily to partake in.
Yes.
And also at the same time, because those of us who own farms who are Black, we don't have the kind of money to pay somebody as a staff person if they don't already know what to do. My business does not make enough money to pay someone who needs to learn. And so that was the first thing that happened, is just being involved in these conversations for a long time and knowing that was a need. And then also just every year, me having to hire seasonal crew and reading these beautiful cover letters and resumes of people who are so passionate and really want to work hard and really want to get involved. And me knowing that I don't have the payroll to cover them learning on my property.
Yeah.
So when somebody approached me about writing an $80,000 grant and they asked what I would do with the money, I said, I'm going to write a grant project to fill this gap, to do what the community has been asking for all these years.
Yes. You know what, Gail, this reminds me of, and you are very transparent about this. One thing I love about Gail is that, listen, she's going to show up when she needs to show up. And if she don't need to show up, she's not showing up because Gail got vegetables to grow and she has families to feed. Okay. And she has a staff to take care of. But you have been very vocal in that this entire food movement has not been progressive. Like it hasn't. So, and just going back to your point of like, you've been a part of these conversations for a very, 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 very long time. Yeah. And I understand it's been frustrating for a lot of us that it hasn't been progressive. People, they want to coordinate these committees and then they want to coordinate these conferences. And it's just like, what happens after the fact, right? What happens after the fact? So do you feel like in this moment with this grant, or even when you were approached, that this was a bit progressive? Like this is like moving the needle somewhere. Like now we're doing something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this project came out of the JustTransition Power Force, which is led by the Emerald Cities Collaborative, which is part of the NAACP Environmental Committee. I don't know I should know the exact word, but
that's okay.
It's some environmental committee from the NAACP. And it's actually one of my CSA members that worked on this process. Nice. And to give credit to the funder, they went through a multi-year process to bring all of their grant readers up to speed to understand what a just transition looked like before they even solicited grant applications. And even just going through the process and then afterwards receiving the grant and being on a Zoom call with the other organizations who are all so amazing, right? Like this is also an opportunity to see what amazing projects are happening all over the country in BIPOC communities on EJ issues. I mean, we're the inaugural cohort of this funding, program. Wow. And hope we do a good job and they keep on doing it, because 1 year for what 3 Bar Harmony Farm is trying to do isn't enough. And just from hearing what the other projects are, we have a many decade to get up to where we need to be.
Let's talk through some of the requirements, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to, listen, if you're listening and you are a farmer or garden enthusiast, this has been a dream of yours. Listen, I want to be a DJ. Okay. So like that's my dream where I want to be a DJ. Okay. So if you want to be a farmer, tap in, listen, because this really is a dynamic opportunity. And I'm just excited for you to share the details and tell a friend. We don't know who we may be reaching. So we want to diversify really in terms of like skill sets and where backgrounds, I know that we're prioritizing Black applicants, if that's my understanding. But really want to diversify like backgrounds of folks who have an interest in this work and actually want it. So as you're listening to this, like, tell a friend, y'all. So, I'll step back, but I definitely just want you to talk through some of those requirements for the application.
Sure. I mean, well, one of the requirements is that you have to want to do this. It is very hard work, and we don't go home when there's a little bit of rain. We mostly just go home when there's thunder and lightning. Okay. So,
torrential downpours is part of the game. All right, y'all.
I always have a task in my back pocket that we can do under the pavilion if it's not rain. No, there's too much work to do to just go home when it's bad weather. Mm-hmm. You have to be ready to be outside all the time. You have to exercise appropriate self-care when you're working at a farm, because being ready to do the work starts the night before when you go to bed at the right time. It begins when you show up hydrated. It shows up when you are cooking nutritious meals for yourself from the food that we grow and bringing that for your lunch instead of eating something that maybe is going to make you want to take a nap after lunchtime. These are all of the kinds of things, you need to be aware of. And it doesn't sound like the first thing that you might want to mention. You might be like, oh, you need to be able to lift 50 pounds. Some people might say like, oh, you need to be able to be this strong or this whatever. And no, I think we can lift the bin together. First of all, I think we all should be doing this still when we're 60. And that means not lifting something that's 50 pounds by yourself.
Absolutely.
But you do need to be mindful of making sure that you're showing up ready to work and that you can do it day after day, and even understanding what to do when it becomes 90 degrees. You have to be available to do the work, and understand that our work is seasonal. So in March, we might start at 10 a.m., but in July and August, we start at 6 a.m. Because my goal is to have everybody out of there as soon as possible. Like if it's 91, 92 degrees, I'm starting to look at my clock so I can send everybody home.
Yeah.
So you have to, if waking up at 5 in the morning is something that would be too hard for you to do, then this might not be the job for you. You have to be ready to live in harmony with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest.
Wow. Yes. In harmony. You
Yes.
got that, in harmony. Wow.
And then, we're people doing a hard job, and sometimes we listen with our earbuds in, we do a task by ourselves, but sometimes we're all weeding together. So you have to be a good coworker to the people who are around. Whether you're on staff or whether you're a volunteer, it's really important to me that everybody is bringing their whole selves to create a positive environment. So that's why I try to also be selective about who is coming onto this space.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
interested in people doing this program who want to be part of building within the community. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing this in collaboration with Juniper's Garden and the Black Dirt Firm Collective, and we are in the process of building a Black agrarian corridor on Croom Road in Brandywine.
Whoa.
So trainees will have an opportunity to work with Samaria Marley, who is an herbalist and has her own apothecary out of Juniper's Garden.
Shout out.
You will get to learn from Blaine Snipstill, who is the co-owner of Earthbound. And then the co-manager of Three Part Harmony Farms Brandywine site is Daryl Graham, and he raises chickens among his other many gifts. And
Yes.
he's also been a guest on your show.
Yes, he has. They're actually all Samaria, D-Rail alums, all.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So this isn't just, and actually I want to stick back to requirements, but I also want you to speak to why you felt it was important not to have like super strict requirements in terms of like having like a farming or gardening like certification, and just really speaking to that. And again, you just really wanting that and like why that's important for you, because you easily could have put those requirements up, and many folks do. Like when these opportunities do come along, like there are can be some heavy restrictions around, your skill set or your background or, what have you. So I just, if you can just speak to that a bit, because that's comforting. That can be comforting to some folks. So we still want you to want to do this, but It is comforting. So
I mean, because first of all, we have been waiting a long time for an opportunity like this. Just in the first day that I sent out the link on Instagram for people to apply to the program, I got text messages from 2 different Black farmers to say thank you.
Wow.
We need this to start building up a cohort of people who want to be doing this work with us. And there are not enough opportunities for that. If I wanted to have somebody come onto my property and have 2 years experience, I would have just hired them as a staff person.
Yeah.
This is like a very specific, intentional program designed to let people do, like, to be honest, what I did when I started in 2005, and I had a very specific economic situation why I was able to start as a volunteer and then start, working it for $8 an hour at a farm in Maryland, and cut my teeth learning how to grow at an organic vegetable farm. I didn't have any kids. I had paid off my student loans. Like, there were so many reasons why I was able to do that. And I just want to be able to offer that to more people. And I think that's the right thing to do.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. And this is more, and you speak to this a bit, on the on the application and your website of, okay, this isn't just growing vegetables or vegetable production, like this is operating a business, like running a business. Yes, it's running a farm, but a farm is a business. You operate a business.
Yeah. And I think also that's another reason why there are requirements listed, because I think that it's also important for people to understand that if you can get over the hump of being able to be outside all the time, I mean, you could do indoor growing too, but the kind of thing you're going to learn with me is being outside, because that's what I do. But just to understand that what you have on your resume and the experience that you did before you came to work with us is totally relevant and very important, because
Yes.
growing vegetables is the easiest part of my job.
Ooh. That sounds like a t-shirt, Gail.
If all I had to do was grow vegetables, I would be out at 9 to 5 every day. I would never have to come home and send emails. I would never have to deal with any of the marketing and financial stuff. I would never have to deal with the FedEx stuff that doesn't show up at 5 p.m. So I'm with my plans. Okay. No, you have to be quick on your feet, and you have to draw from what you did before. Like before on your show, I mentioned I used to be in policy advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when I find a land that I want to start a farm on in DC, and I need to start a policy advocacy campaign so that I can get my first leads? That has nothing to do with growing vegetables. And
I'm just so glad you said that.
And I think every single person who's coming into this training program, you have your own 5 gifts that you are going to bring to this. And I don't want to tell you what it is. Whatever it is, that's what we want.
Yes. Oh, I wish more people had that same thought process. What does my 5th grade math have to do with this job? Nothing.
And I also think too, because maybe you're not good at something, and you can do it communally with other people who are good at that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do it together.
One thing too that I would love for you to speak to is that you have really created a super dynamic and safe and respectable space at your farm that you do not play about and should not. And I know that is extremely important for anyone, who is a part of, the 3PH family.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for applicants to know that too. And when they're stepping into your space, like you said, even before you go there, the night before, that's night's rest and, nutritious breakfast. But when you're stepping onto your farm, what are some of those expectations, or what do they need to ground themselves in, or just be aware of in terms of the space too, because there are diversity of staff at the farm, and we have to be very respectful. And, you have an inclusive space, which is amazing. So I just want you to speak to that too, because that's a part of your mission. That is embedded at the farm.
Yeah, I mean, I do a welcoming every time a new person comes, and just, the short version is, this is a hate-free space. You walk through those gates, cross the threshold, and you come into this space, and we respect everybody, every plant, every animal, every bug. If you don't know if it's a bad bug, just kill it, until you know for sure. And I think, back 10 years ago when I was starting, I think I used to have to be a little bit more explicit. You don't get to say what somebody's gender pronoun is. You have to, whatever they tell you, that's what you say. I think it's a little bit now more common for people to really understand that, and I don't have to explain it. But, these are the kinds of things no homophobia, no racism, no hate. That's it. We're going to just create a peaceful environment and grow food for people. Because we were talking about this before when we were doing this lunch, the vegetables are taking up that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're feeding people. Many times we're feeding pregnant women, we're feeding unborn children. We need to be putting out that energy that is positive.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Because when I go pick up my CSA box every other Tuesday, okay, I need happy vegetables, happy potatoes. So Gail gave me a little sneak peek. Okay, I'm getting some potatoes and some okra, and y'all know this little country girl at heart. Okay, super excited about all of that. Gail, what are the applications due? I know we're working on a short time frame between now and the application date, but let's just speak to that again. If this has been a calling of yours, or if you know a friend or a family, someone, spread the word. This is a really great opportunity. And as we're speaking to, in this interview, it's needed. So it's rare.
Yeah.
it's not, you're not just going to come across these programs all the time. And so, which is the reason why, Gail and her team are launching this, but it really is a dynamic opportunity that if you just know someone who has been talking about this for quite some time, and, there may be some challenges, or they just didn't know where to go, like really, like, share this video after we're done, and the application, we'll actually drop the application link in the chat so that you all can share out. So yeah, let them know when the application is due, because we want some of y'all to hop on this.
Yeah, technically the deadline is August 12th, which I think is this Friday. And we're going to start doing Zoom interviews this week with the folks who've already sent in applications, and then hopefully make our decision. I think I said the end of August.
Okay.
I'm hoping to start some onboarding in September, and then we'll be working September, October, November, do some light work in the winter time, but then come back and do a full season together in 2023.
Lots in store.
This is the first time, and what do I know? Maybe I missed something important when I was writing the design of the program. If you think the timing is off for you, if you want to add something, I think on the Google form at the end, there's an open comment section to tell me something. If you have a suggestion, if you find that you want to apply, but there's one part that doesn't work for you, just let me know. We want to know who is out there who's interested, and yeah, I'm open to being flexible.
And it's like the love of grants, right? All that goes into it, and it's just, there's so much context that needs to go into a grant, but I'm sure it was beautifully written, and you all made it this far, and you've gotten it, and so now you're able to share like this wonderful opportunity. And the priority is extended to Black applicants. Is that correct, Gail?
Yeah, I think there may be other folks who are out there, Indigenous folks, other BIPOC folks who want to apply, and we definitely welcome that. But I'm certainly trying to create an opportunity for people who identify as Black.
Yes. So
as a priority.
The program, I know, and I know I'm about to be leaps and bounds ahead, but I have to, right? So you have this, so you've launched this cohort, you have your 3 trainees. Who knows? One of them might be me. I'm just joking. And you look back and you're reflecting, like, what are your desires, or the desired outcomes, and whether that is, whatever you're visualizing, what the end of this would mean for the cohort, the trainees that are going through this cohort. But like, what are the desired outcomes for it? Could either be for you personally or for the farm as a whole.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hope for me personally, it helps me to become a better manager. I have a spreadsheet that I've been intending to use for many years, but never actually did, to help folks who work at the farm track their success in achieving certain, points within learning how to farm. So now I have to do that, right? I have to report on this grant. So I have to say, like, harvesting and weeding and all of these things, how did you do? And also it'll give me an opportunity to become hopefully a better manager and a better teacher. I hope that at least one person might want to keep working with us in 2024. I'm trying to be very transparent. 1 year is not enough for you to go on and start your own farm.
You say that on the website.
Yeah.
You say that.
I spent 5 years at the same farm before I wrote a business plan. You cannot learn everything you need to know in one season unless you grew up on a farm or you have some other prior experience. So I would love to have somebody who wants to continue on with us, and maybe even see them develop their own enterprise and want to become part of this Black agrarian corridor that we're building. There's still room for people who want to do fruits, or, somebody to come in and we can kind of support them in creating their own business in this land that we're stewarding. That would be really great. And then also, I hope that we do such a great job that we keep getting funding to keep doing this moving forward.
Yes.
It could be a minimum of 10 years of training folks before we start to see a real impact.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I know before I wrap up, because I actually have one concluding question before we wrap up the show. Something that you had said earlier, in terms of like doing the work together and, not, you shouldn't be picking up a 50 pound of something by yourself. And I'm just curious of your thoughts around, as folks age in farming. Just like your general, and I know that's, the farmers are in general are just peeling off, right?
Yeah.
We need more black farmers, but black farmers have peeled off for, since forever. But really like your true, genuine thoughts on being able to sustain this work. As the generation gets older, and then having programs like this, and hopefully being able to have more. And we don't know the age range. And that's the other thing. There are no age requirements. There are no age requirements at all. At all. But I am just interested in just like your general thoughts. I mean, as you've been doing this work for quite some time, even for your own personal self, do you ever just find yourself sitting there like, y'all, yeah, I don't know how old you are, okay, but I know you're young, okay.
I wouldn't have said that.
But do you think like 20 years down the line, this is something that you still want to be doing and you feel like you will be doing?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I am thinking about how I'm going to be doing this in the future. And that means choosing parts of the business that are less physically strenuous, especially on your back. That's a big thing. I mean, we might be lifting heavy bins together, but it takes a toll on your back. So, people say work smart, not hard. And in farming, that means having access to capital to be able to buy the proper tools and machines that you need to be able to, for example, today I spent 2.5 hours digging potatoes by hand with a digging fork because we don't have a potato digger. But if we did, then we would just hook up the thing with a tractor, and then the thing would dig up the potatoes, and I wouldn't have had to do that. And I'm in my 40s, I'll tell you.
I'm with you.
So I hope that when I'm in my 50s, I'm going to have that potato digger, and that would be really nice to be able to just do that on the tractor instead of be doing it by hand. And I think, it's interesting, like in organic farming especially, there's this romanticization of doing something that's old in a lot of ways. Like we want to go back to before they used chemicals. But there's also, we are very into new technology. We're into trying new things all the time. We're into buying silage tarps. We're into doing all of these things that make our lives easier. So while we may not opt to buy something chemical that's going to be harmful to the environment, we totally are on board with doing something that we can put down to kill the weeds instead of having to spend 10 hours pulling them ourselves. If we can create that for the people who are coming up and opening up this opportunity for people to come into farming and have it not be as backbreaking as maybe it used to be, that will be a good thing. But I just think also at the end of the day, this is physically demanding work and there's no getting around it. We're working long hours on our feet. It's hard work. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Do you believe or do you feel that small scale farmers will ever see the funding that they need to really operate in the capacity that you just spoke to?
I don't know if I have the brain to think that way. I really just think realistically we need to understand and grasp that living on a full-time farmer's salary might just not be the way of the future.
Yeah.
It's
a real thing.
If we are farming part-time and in the hot parts of the day, we have this value-added enterprise where we are making something else that we are selling in our farm store for income, or we're doing this other kind of thing. I just think that we need to normalize and get used to the idea of like farmers doing many different things. Because, how long can I work for 80 hours a week like this? There's a timestamp on that.
And actually, my sister actually had a great question. Just speaking to that, she was like, "Do you have any dual farmers?" So I guess 9-to-5ers and rookie farmers. I guess they have. Or essentially, are you asking, are there any staff that work for you that have 9-to-5s and also farm on
Oh,
the side as well, or farm part time or whatever that's part time, side time? Do you
yeah.
have?
I would say that's almost 100% of the people who've worked at the farm, including myself until last October. I started this farm having a job, and I did not quit my job until last year.
Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that commitment?
That's the first thing that I tell somebody that wants to get into this, especially if they have a good job and they can work from home. Because this is the era of like you get paid while you work at home. Do not quit that job.
Tip of the day.
Do not quit your job. It takes a long time to be able to get to a point until you can quit your job.
And then on top, I mean, you're in DC, right? You're in DC. And if you live in DC, if you live anywhere in this metro area, everything's expensive. So
Mostly
farmers,
rent.
yeah, mostly, don't even get me started. Mostly rent.
Mostly rent. So everyone that has worked at the farm, we do it because we love it.
Yeah.
And on, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, we go to other jobs where we make more money. And on the other days, we come together, we hang out, we get to play in the dirt and do what we love. And it's a good balance. And also because, our work is seasonal. So in the wintertime, there's no paid work at the farm.
Yes.
So it's important to have a job you can go to in December and January because in November, you're too tired to look for a new job.
Yes. Wow. Commitment. I encourage everyone, thank your local farmer. Thank you, Gail. It like the work does not, I mean, because I'm in this space and I have some depth, I have some understanding, right? I'm not out in the field. I am not on the farm. I am not, but I am eternally grateful because this work is extremely hard and you all are out there because you love this work. And the trainees who are going to be a part of this cohort are going to take part because they like you said, you have to love this work. And I could not imagine not having my CSA every other week, having access to, and let me just say, it is a privilege for me to be able to do that too. Like I have to say that it's a privilege. We all have privileges, like not everyone can afford to do that. Let's just also say that too.
Yeah.
And that's just not speaking, directly to like the cost of your like, it's just like things are just crazy expensive, but also because of that, because of inflation and how crazy like we really do need our local farmers, and we need more farmers, and we need more Black farmers. Please. Because there are, these big industrial farms, white owned farms, like that's where a lot of the money is going, and that's where a lot of our produce comes from. And we really need to support our local farms, and even some of the smaller, I'm going to put in quotes, like small scale operations, who are owned and operated, by our white counterparts, like we're not seeing the funding and the opportunities like our white counterparts. So this is, I hope, one of my last questions that I wanted to ask, and we kind of already spoke to this, is like, do you see this as a solution, to creating, and we kind of just you answered that throughout the interview, but as a solution to Black farmers really shepherding, this movement, this space, and feeding our community and connecting back to the land?
Yeah, I think this is part of the solution.
Okay.
I think one of the important things to remember is that maybe people will do something like this and find out that it's not for them.
That is very true.
I think the most important part is that we have options and that we have equal opportunity to learn if we want to keep doing this or not. Just like all of the other white folks out there that get a chance to do it while they're in college, or, they take a gap year, or do all of these things that their family's wealth allows them to do. Like, why can't we just try something?
Right. Gail, this has been awesome. It's an honor. First of all, I think y'all need to know, like I said, Gail is busy, and the fact that she even set aside some time for me on this show, knowing that she has a whole CSA going out tomorrow, I am super honored, but I knew that I wanted to jump on here because, again, I didn't want this opportunity to be missed by anyone who may be tuning in. As I said before, share this information with a friend. Applications are due this Friday, August 12th, 11:59 p.m. Okay. And so we have talked through some of the requirements. And again, if you know someone this has been their heart's desire, someone who just really wants it, or someone who's seeking radical change and they want to feed their community, do for their community, and be a part of a family, I think this really is a great way to do so. So thank you so much for sharing these details. I really appreciate it. One edible act, even if it's filling out this application, but one edible act, Gail, that anyone can do after watching this show.
I would say make a seasonal meal this week. It doesn't have to come from the farmer's market, but just tap into knowing what is growing where you live right now. And if it's in the DMV, it's going to be zucchini, some cucumbers, some potatoes, eggplant, okra, peppers. Maybe you get some peaches, something that's like available from the farmers around here, and make a big meal out of it.
If y'all want some cucumbers, holla at me, because shout out to my sister who literally over a year ago ate a cucumber and she tossed the seeds out in front of my parents' house. Now there is abundance of freaking cucumbers. My mother is pulling cucumbers by the droves. I can't eat another cucumber salad, y'all. I am cucumbered out. I'm about to start pickling these bad boys, all right? I need a good pickling recipe.
If you're driving down the road and you see some guys from North Carolina, South Carolina with watermelons in the back of their truck, please pull over and buy some watermelons.
Yes. And yes. And there's nothing like a good summertime watermelon, y'all, and a local watermelon. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gail, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I am grateful for you. And we're going to get the word out. And so just as a reminder, if you all have not subscribed to the show, Food Talks in Color on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I also need you to like this video right after the show ends. And I need you to comment as well and share this with a friend. Share all of the content with a friend, but especially share this with a friend as well, because we want to get the word out there. And like Gail said, make a seasonal meal this week. Ooh, it sounds so delicious. Okay, awesome. All right, peace, y'all.